At the heart of the Kiteworks Private Data Network, or PDN, is the data policy engine. This engine takes classification labels from DSPM tools and applies consistent, auditable governance to your sensitive data. What makes it powerful is its reach. It enforces policies not just internally, but across email, file sharing, collaboration platforms, SFTP, MFT, and APIs, even when data moves beyond the organization. And here's how it mitigates downstream risk. First, your system or your platform automatically enforces policies based on DSPM classification labels, then applies smart access controls, factoring in user role, location, intended action, etc. All data is protected with end-to-end encryption, both in transit and at rest. And every access, share, and transfer is logged in real time, giving SOC and compliance teams full visibility. And finally, it integrates with DLP servers via ICAP using DLP responses that yes or no, block, allow, or restrict usage.
This is the Kiteworks data policy engine, where you can obviously access policy that you have already written, as well as create new policy. So we'll go through a brief overview of all that's possible here, which is a lot. Obviously, there's a lot of granularity here when it comes to the rules that we are able to write. But essentially what this is I'm able to write an if-then statement to apply a restriction if the action being performed by a specific user on a specific type of data qualifies for that restriction. So a common rule you might see is maybe you have specified a folder location within Kiteworks, and you want to say that for the contents within that particular folder, those files can never be shared externally. So the way you would do something like that is by writing if the files within that folder are granted access to an external email domain. So in this case, for me, outside of the Kiteworks domain, that would apply to the recipient in that case. And then I'm either allowing that action, I'm blocking it, or maybe I'm requiring approval, right? So I can straight up block the action from happening, or I could have an admin or a manager receive a message saying, hey, Keen is trying to send out these sensitive files. Do you approve this or not? So that's the first way we can write rules. The second thing we can do is write rules on any file across our entire Kiteworks environment, right? If we want to write some global rules there. How to write policy based on tags. So what DSPM tools do a really good job of is not only identifying data where it lives, but applying tags to it. And so the value here within Kiteworks data policy engine is being able to enforce policy over your Kiteworks environment for files that may have been tagged by another external tool, like a Varonis, a Sierra, a Big ID, a Microsoft Purview. Any tool that's applying MIP labels, Kiteworks can ingest from. And as you can see here, we have some MIP tags that our Kiteworks system knows and has learned. And I can write rules based on these tags. So maybe for this particular Kiteworks protected tag, I want to write a rule that says these tagged files can never be sent externally, right? So I'd write that same type of rule as I just showed before. But again, maybe we're requiring approval. Maybe we're enforcing view-only rights on the access to those tagged files, in which case I'm applying a safe view where that file is always going to be watermarked and download restricted when a particular user accesses this. But really a lot of granularity here, as I mentioned before, and a lot of different ways you can write these rules. We could spend, probably an hour going through everything that's possible here. But a lot of value and power when it comes to, you may have a DSPM tool already that is applying tags. And now all you need to do, and it's really not much of an integration, more so it's just Kiteworks being able to read the tags that are already being applied to files, and then enforcing policy here in the engine on those files. My colleague Sam created this policy for files that are tagged as confidential and sent to a particular Gmail address. We have those set to be blocked. So I'm going to go through kind of the life cycle of a file as it hits Kiteworks and it is attempted to be sent to that user, and we'll show how exactly these policies become enforced. So I'm now authenticating over to the end user UI here in Kiteworks. And here's a particular folder I've already created. And if I was to upload a tagged file into this folder, that tag is visible here in the UI. If you expand the metadata of this particular file, I see that it's tagged here with this confidential label. And so I know that Kiteworks has picked up on that tag and thus will be able to enforce the policy that I've written inside the data policy engine. So now, if I was to attempt to send this file to my colleague Sam's Gmail account, what we'll notice is, based on the policy, that action's not allowed. So this is the notification I get. This file cannot be sent. So this would be a similar workflow if this mail had to go through an approval step. Obviously, in this case, this action is blocked entirely, but maybe we had that approval step in place where I'd actually be able to see, instead of action blocked, this would say action is awaiting approval. So here's kind of a live demonstration of how exactly those rules are being enforced. Maybe we're using Kiteworks Email Protection Gateway, and we want to leverage these same policies just as our users are navigating around their Outlook, sending mail as they would on their normal day-to-day. They may not even know these files are tagged, but we can also enforce the policy within Kiteworks to have that email protection gateway bounce certain mail or reject them based on the policy as well. So what that would look like here is, again, I'm just crafting an email as I normally would. The way internally that we trigger our email protection gateway is just by including the word EPG in the subject line. So by including that text, I know this mail is going to go through Kiteworks Email Protection Gateway, where the gateway is going to make a decision with this email based on the policy that has been set within Kiteworks. So I'm going to go ahead and attach that same file that I uploaded to Kiteworks. This is the same file with that confidential label. And even as I send this mail from Outlook, with the Kiteworks Email Protection Gateway, we're going to see that same notification come back. It's going to tell me that this mail was not allowed due to the policy that was in place. So here's that message coming back to me saying this email was not allowed as per policy. So whether I was sending a file through the Kiteworks web interface or whether I sent it through my standard email through to the Kiteworks Email Protection Gateway, we're applying policy all over the Kiteworks environment to make sure that we're picking up and reading into those tags that might be applied by a DSPM tool and enforcing the policy in that way. Kiteworks has an audit log that's located here in the admin console that tracks every single activity across your entire environment. What's nice about this log is that it's tracking everything down to blocked activities as well. So I can drill into the audit log and see some metadata around the file that was attempted to be sent. I have an overview of the activity. I see exactly which policy came into play when this mail was blocked. So here's the first location I can come to access the tracking details associated with these policies. And I could certainly filter through this audit log, right? If I wanted to search for, a policy name or a username, I can search and get a little bit more granular when it comes to how I'm ingesting this audit log. Keep in mind, these blocked notifications are the same syslog output as every other log item that you see on this audit trail here. So if we have integration set up to SIM tools or SOAR tools, this is an example of another one of those log items that will arrive at that SIM tool for further monitoring and alerting and etc. Everyone has access to the compliance console. You'll just have to type in your custom Kiteworks domain with the /compliance and it'll take you to this dashboard. And the way to track specific risk policies is by navigating to the compliance console audit log, where I can specify a particular policy that I've written. and I can parse through every single time that policy made a restriction. So in this case, you're seeing in the last 5 minutes or so, my kiteworks.training username tried to perform a send mail and failed. And then they attempted to perform another send mail via the EPG, and that also failed. So here's another place I can come to access all of the tracking information associated with any of the policies that I have written. So that pretty much covers everything I wanted to get through today, and we are certainly happy to answer any questions on this, but really just wanted to give a high-level overview of how Kiteworks is going to play off of the tags that you might already be applying with an external DSPM tool, and show you how to extend the policy when your data needs to be shared, whether internally or externally, across your entire Kiteworks environment.